thing you check in morning and the last thing you look at before bed is most likely the vast world of social media. Social media is something that most every person has and uses on a daily basis. According to Overload.com, approximately 90% of the millennial population and 78% of the Gen X population have social media. Though it may seem as social media has been around for a long time, it is relatively new. It is rare to see a person not submerged in their phone today. The total population of the world is about 7.6 billion, and 3.4 billion actively use social media, according to Joanna Carter. This is nearly half of the population. Seeing all the many things that take place on social media, there is no question that there are many negative effects of reading your friend's Facebook post or even watching the funniest videos on YouTube. Constantly being on social media all day can be very damaging to a student. In a world where virtually everyone is on social media, a person may not be able to visualize how it really affects an individual. Students should spend less time on social media because it impacts social interaction skills, worsens mental health, and impacts education. To begin, social media negatively affects students because it impacts social interaction skills. Some people are starting to see that social media is a new way of life. This is very dangerous because students revolve their life around the fact that they can communicate solely through the media. When a student spends a majority of the time on social media not having conversations with actual people, that student would feel difficulty actually having to converse in person. Most students have some type of social media activity, some even for long periods of time. According to New York Behavioral Health, a survey shows that 22% of the teenagers log into their favorite social media site over 10 times a day. They also tell that students ages 8 to 18 spend over 7.5 hours a day on social media outside of school. The number one source of communication for students ages 12 to 17 is text messaging, even when face-to-face interaction is included in this category. Found by the New York Behavioral Health. The use of social media not only impacts verbal communication, but also nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication such as hand gestures and eye contact. It is very important because improper use of them in conversation can lead to a person thinking as the other is rude or disinterested. Social skills are very important to be able to maintain a healthy relationship with peers, which is much needed as a student. There have been many studies that show when kids go somewhere, such as a camp without technology, that they interact with children better. Students are constantly using technology, such as a phone, and losing out on quality time that could be spent with friends and family. When a group of teenagers are hanging out together, most of the time you see them on their phones rather than talking to each other. Additionally, social media negatively affects students because it worsens mental health. The many hours spent on social media every day sets standards in eyes of young students that they may have to look or feel a certain way, and this pressure damages the mental health of young students. The pressure that is put on by the people of the media is so unrealistic, and it is understandable how it can negatively affect them. Constantly being surrounded by seemingly perfect individuals or even couples can make a person feel depressed in their own life, when that should not be the case. 95% of teens use a smartphone, and 45% of these students are constantly online, according to NEA Today. Psychology Today has said that the longer a person spends on social media, the more likely they are to have anxiety or depression. As in the handouts you have, there are some charts about how kids feel with cyberbullying on the internet from social media. As Christy Chappell, MD, said, social media sites often try to give people advice with mental health issues. The advice given is not necessarily the best option because anyone can post that information. The advice may not even be something that is good for the condition of the person and can negatively impact them even more. Social media strongly increases a student's chances of being bullied because it is so much easier for people to hide behind technology and post mean things. Cyberbullying is now more common than it had been 10 years ago because social media allows for a person to hide behind the screen and say the harmful words. Studies have shown that someone who is bullied as a student is more likely to develop a psychiatric disorder. Some major problems are body image issues that are caused by encouraged social comparisons. Being an adolescent and dealing with these major issues is detrimental to a developing brain, and I have seen my peers even spend hours trying to filter, edit, and create captions for posts to get the desired amount of likes. As a student, it is encouraged to get around 8 hours of sleep so the brain can function properly. Social media keeps the students' minds busy at night when they need proper rest. Sleep is a key part of mental stability and optimal mental health. Therefore, social media has many negative impacts on mental health. Furthermore, social media negatively affects students because it can impact education. The main issue with social media and education is the addiction. As said earlier, many students spend over 7 hours a day on social media platforms. When going to school 7 hours a day, sleeping 8 hours, and using social media, this leaves around 1 hour of free time. As a high school student, I know that most days are more than hours needed to complete homework. This does not even include time needed to simply just rest. While technology may be a good use for online items such as textbooks, there is no doubt when a notification pops up that the student is going to be distracted and most likely even check it. 17-year-old Jane Crowder said that social media does impact her homework and ability to focus on school. She said, technology such as a phone makes it easy to access social media, but it also makes it easy just to pick up the phone and check it in the middle of schoolwork. Another problem with social media and education is the lax attitude towards spelling and proper grammar usage because of the use of slang. This has become acceptable in the world of social media, but in real life education, a paper cannot be written in the slang used on an Instagram post. Besides social media being a distraction, it can also impact the ability to get education, such as college. Sometimes things people say on social media get them into trouble, but they never really think about how that can impact future education. Colleges and scholarships often look through social media when choosing who gets in or who gets the reward. Even a small post that seems like nothing can be detrimental to a student's future. Altogether, social media is not the best influence on a student. While there are many good uses of it, the negative impacts outweigh the good. It is clear that social media is something that a majority of people have, and that number will continue to grow. The world of social media is far too advanced to eradicate, but students can limit how much they use or if they even have it at all. Teenagers look at everyone around them using social media and do not want to be perceived as less cool than other students. Therefore, they too commonly use social media. Social media, one of the best ways to control how social media can affect a student is to just monitor how much access they have. You have the power to say no to the temptation of the social media world. Once again, students should spend less time on social media because it impacts interaction skills, worsens mental health, and impacts education. Next time you click on a seemingly harmless post, just remember that everything on social media is not a positive influence. Thank you. Did you click? Oh.